Those years in quest of honor mine. Chapter 3. After His Majesty's birthday, return to Qianan with me, said Zhongyuan. They must not waste more time after entering the capital. If there's something you have yet to attend to, hurry up and get it done. Lin Si stood there, shocked. He said with sign language, I cannot leave. I want to stay in the capital to help you. No need. Zhongyuan shook his head. After His Majesty sees Xian Rui and Xian Yu, he should feel completely at ease. It's pointless for you to stay here. Why not follow me back to Nanjiang where it's carefree and pass your days with me in peace and stability? Without waiting for Lin Si to respond, Zhongyuan said, You said before that Yushi will not consider past friendships. Last time, he spared you because he didn't care about you. Furthermore, the fourth prince and the fifth prince are currently fighting for the position of crown prince. The fifth prince has Prince Yu's estate backing him. Fourth prince might not be able to win. You won't be safe in their estate. I can't bear to let you stay there. Lin Si fell into his thoughts for a moment. Then he did not persist any further and nodded, his action speaking of hesitation. Zhongyuan patted his shoulder. You're dismissed. Lin Si dropped to his knees, kowtowing to Zhongyuan. He left just like he had arrived, silently. Zhongyuan lifted the door flap, gazing at the capital gates that were not too far away. He adjusted his clothes and crown. The fear that he would be interrogated plagued Zhongyuan's mind. As such, he did not disembark from the carriage. Outside, Yan Pingshan made his way to the group of low-ranking officials of the Ministry of Rights and the other officials of the capital. Then he handed them the official papers of Prince Jianan's estate. Half a month ago, these officials had already received news that Prince Jianan's estate would arrive at the capital. These officials did not make it hard on Zhongyuan and his group. From afar, they paid respects to Xian Rui's carriage. After lightly asking the servants marching alongside the carriages how many people were with them, they allowed the group to leave. The emperor had seized Prince Ning's manor that was in the capital. After the manor had been repaired, it became the prince estate of the fifth prince, Xian Qiang. As they passed by the previous estate of Prince Ning, Zhongyuan lifted the door flap. When the current emperor had first ascended the throne, at the very least, he treated his younger brother generously, conferring him as a prince of the first rank and bestowing him his own estate. Furthermore, the emperor had personally picked daughters of aristocratic families for him, acting as a father figure. Back then, the family of Prince Ning's in-laws, the Zhong family, had already committed a crime. The Zhong family had many daughters and few sons. They were able to produce 2 consorts for the imperial harem. Still, the number of their sons were lacking. The ones that could be counted had been implicated by their family's crime. The only son this family had left was one from a side branch and he was very young. Because of this, he escaped being implicated by a hair's breadth. Later on, Prince Ning took the child into his estate and brought him up like his own son. That way, he muzzled the mouths of the imperial censors. Under Prince Ning's protection, Zhongyuan was able to grow up normally. After he had received such plentiful grace from Prince Ning's downfall transpired and Zhongyuan nearly failed in protecting Xian Rui. Therefore, he did not have the face to look at the place where he had grown up. After taking a deep breath, he dropped the door flap. They were led to a different estate. It wasn't spacious but could be considered refined. Yan Pingshan wasn't used to communicating with these low-ranking officials. Zhongyuan slipped a few purses into his sleeve. He hopped off the carriage. He approached the group of officials to greet them. He caused the officials from the Ministry of Rights to be full of smiles. May His Highness find comfort in resting here. It's best to quickly wash up, advised a low-ranking official with a smile. After Shen Shi, the servants of the palace will come to invite you. Zhongyuan presented a purse to him as he said, "Thank you." After courteously sending off the people from the Ministry of Rights, Zhongyuan didn't even have the opportunity to rest. He massaged his sore neck and shoulders as he entered the inner courtyard and instructed the servants to prepare the young Miss inner chamber first. Zhongyuan stood behind the curtain hanging from the doorway and asked, "Does young Miss like the furniture and decorations of the room?" He had watched Qian Kengxin grow up, so he wasn't as worried about his actions arousing suspicion. She left the room holding a cloak made of fox fur. "I was making this on the road. Now it's finally done. See if it fits you." Zhongyuan wasted no time in receiving it. A smile graced his lips. "So you were making this for me these past few days? I thought it was for your elder brother. You're weaker to the cold." Compared to her naive and naughty younger brother, Qian Kengxin matured earlier. She had a cold temperament. Even when she was worried about someone, her tone would be light. "It's truly chilly in the capital. You should go back inside earlier or else you'd fall ill on our way home." Yeah. Zhongyuan smiled as he draped the cloak over his shoulders. "Then let's go." Qian Kengxin looked at the cloak from all angles, memorizing his measurements without a word. "There's no time to adjust it. Just wear it for now. Have someone send it to me at night and I'll fix the collar." Zhongyuan was unsure whether to laugh or cry. "You might as well kill me." In the period they had been together, Qian Kengxin had not spoken much, and now she turned around to return to her chambers. Zhongyuan could not spare a moment to relax. He spun on his heel and made for Qian Rui's courtyard. Qian Rui's expression was unsightly to the extreme. As he had been recalling the past events in the capital, Zhongyuan's appearance gave him a fright. Never had Zhongyuan thought that Qian Rui, who was no longer a child, was this easily scared. Slightly ashamed, he leaned on the doorway, a smile tugging on his lips. "How does your highness want to meet the emperor?" "His Majesty thinks that we from Prince Jian'an's estate are impoverished to the point where even your highness cannot have a good meal." Qian Rui was aware that Zhongyuan was only teasing him. Yet, he could not muster a smile. He pursed his dry lips, eyes dull with worry. "I've been nervous ever since I entered the capital. In my mind were only the memories of 7 years ago, when I alone had been kept under house arrest in our old estate. Father had left and you had been taken away. Zhongyuan sighed. In a low voice, he said, "I'm the one who was useless. At that time, I really wanted to find you, but it was hard for news to enter and leave Prince Yu's estate. Enough. These things have already passed." Worry still coursing through his veins, Qian Rui said, "If he were to ask me, ask me. He won't ask any questions that will trouble you. He doesn't want to mention the things of the past any more than you do." Then Zhongyuan's countenance turned stern. "He wants peace of mind. So just give him that. If he truly wanted to kill you, then he would send a pitcher of poisoned wine to Prince Jian'an's estate. Why would he specifically invite you to the capital? Do you think history books don't have enough to write about him?" Once Qian Rui had heard those words, his expression lightened. "These things are already in the past," said Zhongyuan in a soft voice. "When you return. Never mind. I'll escort you all into the palace." "Really?" Qian Rui's eyes flashed. "You'll accompany me there?" "Of course not." Zhongyuan smiled. "I do want to, but can I actually? I'll just wait outside." Qian Rui broke into a helpless smile. But his worry had lessened. Once Shen Shi arrived, the imperial palace indeed sent some people over. But they only invited Qian Rui and Qian Yu. Zhongyuan pretended to be a servant and followed them. But before he could even enter the gates, the guards blocked him. Qian Rui and Qian Yu disembarked from their horse-drawn carriage, the servants of the palace leading them inside. The two followed the eunuchs with care, and after turning many corners and walking for who knew how long, they finally saw the emperor. And as soon as they did, they kowtowed. Qian Rui did not dare to lift his head. He answered whatever he was asked, voice just a sliver louder than a mosquito's. He even had to rely on an old eunuch to announce what he had said in a louder voice. In comparison, little Xianyu responded better. He had only been 2 to 3 years old during Prince Ning's downfall. As such, he did not remember it much, and grew up normally these past few years. He was braver than his elder brother by a large margin. When the emperor had asked him questions, he actually lifted his head to glance at the emperor, feeling slightly surprised as soon as he did. This uncle emperor looked older than he had expected. He seemed to be 60 years old and could even pass as Xianyu's grandfather. These past few years, Emperor Chang'an had slowly shown signs of aging in both his appearance and bearing. It didn't seem like he had enough air in his lungs as he spoke. He studied little Xianyu, smiled kindly and amiably, and asked him about his studies. Before Xianyu could speak, cold sweat sprang from Xian Rui's entire body. Back then, Emperor Chang'an had also asked Xian Rui this. The next day, he and Zhonwan were sent into the imperial palace to study. Would Emperor Chang'an use this reason to keep Xianyu in the capital? As Xian Rui was left perturbed, Emperor Chang'an casually quizzed Xianyu a few things. Xianyu answered them all. Satisfied, Emperor Chang'an nodded. In a gentle tone, he said, "Very good. Is the teacher that your elder brother hired for you decent? How learned is he? Is he strict?" Xianyu lowered his head and said, "Your Majesty, we didn't hire a tutor. I learned." Although Xianyu was young, he still instinctively knew not to name Zhonwan. A pause and he said, "I learned from a literate steward in the estate." A while passed without Emperor Chang'an uttering a word. Then he asked, "Was it Guiyan who had taught you?" Guiyan was Zhonwan's courtesy name. Confused, Xianyu furrowed his brows. How did he know this? Emperor Chang'an slowly said, "If he's teaching you, then there will naturally be no mistakes." Truly, Emperor Chang'an's words were very slow, as if his thoughts had wandered elsewhere. A while later, he said, "In the past, if he had participated in the palace exam." Not a word left little Xianyu's lips as he listened, not daring to say anything more. Emperor Chang'an did not continue speaking even after a long while. He waved and no longer asked about the studies of the two brothers. And Xian Rui secretly let out a sigh of relief. After a period of small talk, the sky started to grow dark, and Emperor Chang'an grew tired. He bestowed the two a table full of fine food and had an old eunuch escort them to it. The old eunuch led Xian Rui and Xianyu to a small but warm pavilion, before stepping foot outside again. There was no one else around. In a soft voice, Xianyu asked, "How come the moment after His Majesty heard about Zhonwan, he..." At that moment, the old eunuch who usually attended to the emperor led the servants with the meals inside the pavilion. The corners of his lips tilted up slightly. He acted as if he had not heard anything and placed food into each of the brothers' bowls. This old slave happened to hear what had been said before His Majesty. The old eunuch smiled once more. Did young Master Zhon personally tutor the young highnesses? Surprise struck Xianyu. You know Zhonwan? Behind the old eunuch, a young eunuch covered his smile with a hand. Who didn't know about Zhonwan's romance? Of course, little Xianyu heard the rumors, too. He understood that these people were mocking Zhonwan and was angered to the extreme. Yet Xian Rui shot Xianyu a look. The old eunuch who served by Emperor Chang'an's side was not someone they could offend. With that, Xianyu lowered his head and shoveled plain rice into his mouth. The old eunuch turned his head and glared at the young eunuch. As he serviced the two brothers, he said neither too quickly nor too slowly, "Naturally, this old slave has heard of him. He is the youngest Juran of this dynasty. Who wouldn't know of him?" Xianyu looked up. He did not know Zhonwan was so incredible and was put in a daze. Oh! The old eunuch smiled. Slowly he continued, "Although the Zhon family has declined, Prince Ning treated him as a son and raised him. Such a son from a renowned family, with such a background and such literary talent, in the future which of the 3 departments and 6 ministries could he not get into? Yet young Master Zhong just had to be ambitious and proud, and insisted on taking the exam route. And reached the top ranks with one step. In the spring exam season, he obtained the position of Jiwen. In the autumn exam season, he obtained the position of Huiyan. If it weren't for... The old eunuch held back the words that could not be said. This old slave has heard that the youngest Zhuang Yuan was 18 years old. Back then, if young Master Zhong had been able to participate in the palace exam, one would fear if it weren't for that, he would be the youngest Zhuang Yuan in the history of the dynasty. The old eunuch retrieved the fly whisk from his waist. He turned around and smacked the young eunuch. Cheap and ignorant slave. Scram. Outside the palace, the gifted scholar Zhong, who had almost held the top rank of all 3 levels of exams, stood and waited in the cold. He sneezed. So cold. Zhongwan had waited for 4 hours. The coals in his handheld brazier had long since burned out. Fearing that his legs were freezing, he got off the carriage altogether. He walked around to move his hands and feet. When Wuxi rolled along, the sky was pitch black. As Zhongwan stared at the palace gates from afar, he actually did not feel anxious. In the worst-case scenario, the emperor would keep Xianyu as hostage. But this had a low probability of happening. What made more sense was this, keeping and raising in the capital the heir of a prince who had his own fief and military. What's the point of keeping Xianyu? What were they guarding against? The tens of people Xian Rui was gathering in Jianan to rebel. Jianan was spacious but impoverished. They would often require disaster relief from the capital. If Zhongwan were the emperor, after being notified of the existence of rebels in Jianan, he would be the first one to approve. What he would hope for the most was that these poor people would secede from the country. That way, he would not need to supply disaster relief every year. Zhongwan rubbed his hands together with a lot of force. They were so cold that they had grown numb. Presently, it was all because of his hot breath that they were still holding on. Far a distance, the sound of horse-drawn carriage could be heard. Zhongwan's head immediately turned towards its direction. The carriage slowly approached their location, its lantern swayed, the character of Yu printed upon them. Zhongwan's heart beat wildly in his chest. As the carriage of Prince Yu's estate gradually drew near, various thoughts flitted through his mind. Royal Princess Angguo had her own carriage. So this shouldn't be hers. The side branches of Prince Yu's estate would definitely not leave the imperial palace at this time. Therefore, the person sitting in this carriage could only be Prince Yu. Or that person. Zhongwan sucked in a deep breath. He chanted in his heart, "Please be Prince Yu, Prince Yu, Prince Yu." Hanging from the carriage Zhongwan was standing next to were lanterns with the characters for Prince Jianan's estate. There was no way the other party would not be able to see that. If Prince Yu was the one sitting in that carriage, he would not pay any attention and pass right by them. But if it were Yushi, no matter how favored Yushi was, he had yet to take on his father's position. Once he caught sight of Prince Jianan's horse-drawn carriage, he would have to stop his own carriage and yield the road. Prince Yu's carriage grew closer and closer. In such cold night, hot sweat sprang from Zhongwan's back. A moment later, the carriage stopped. Zhongwan closed his eyes, cursing Yushi's mother. Yushi's carriage had cruised to a stop at the side of the road. A steward disembarked and paid respects from afar. Then he got to his feet and walked over to Zhongwan. Joy sprang from his heart. In such cold weather, Yushi would not be willing to leave the shelter of his carriage, and would probably have a steward ask Zhongwan why Prince Jianan's carriage was parked there. And once he knew there was no one on board, he would of course leave. The steward arrived before Zhongwan. As soon as he had lifted his head, he was shocked. He recognized Zhongwan in an instant and yelled, "Why, young Master Zhong? Zhonwan almost collapsed on the ground. Can't you talk softer? He rubbed his cold and numb hands together, taking in another deep breath. A light smile spreading on his lips, he said, "It's me. His Highness has entered the palace and has yet to come out. Sending His Highness, young Prince Yu, off first. I've guessed it was you." The steward looked at Zhonwan from head to toe, the former appearing excited. "I will return first to inform my master. Your honored self can wait here." "No, no, no," the cold gust choked Zhonwan as he had tried to talk, and he coughed. "No, no." But the steward had already run away. Zhonwan pulled up his collar, coughing until he could hardly breathe. He really wanted to eat that steward alive. From far away, he watched as that steward briskly approached young Prince Yu's carriage, bowed and said something that escaped his ears. "It's over, it's over, it's over. It's really the end this time." Zhonwan's heart slammed against his chest at lightning speed. He pondered how he should handle Yushi. That steward stood before Yushi's carriage for a long time. Long enough that Zhonwan thought Yushi had already arranged for the Yulin guards to shoot him dead. What is he doing? Zhonwan was so cold he couldn't even speak properly. He squinted, gaze falling upon Yushi's carriage. After 5 minutes, that steward bid farewell from the distance. Then Prince Yu's carriage started to move, slowly going on its way. "They're leaving just like that?" Without a word, Zhonwan watched the carriage go. All of a sudden, a cold gust entered his lungs, and he coughed relentlessly. A servant accompanying Prince Jianan's carriage rushed over to Zhonwan, supporting him. He said, "Does your honored self want to return first?" That. I am fine." Zhonwan felt better after the servant helped calm his coughing. He smiled self-deprecatingly. "I'm the one who scared myself. I was thinking too much." Zhonwan watched as the carriage gradually shrank into the distance, a smile dancing on his lips. Whether Yushi's temperament had changed or not, it had nothing to do with him. Even if he knew Zhonwan was here, what would he do? Disembark from his carriage and reminisce about the past together? Then tomorrow, almost everyone in the capital would know that they had met outside of the palace. Zhonwan couldn't help but smile. If this actually happened, then he would truly be unable to wash off all the rumors. Inadvertently, Zhonwan swallowed a few gulps of cold air. And his chest felt as if it were freezing. He was so cold to the point that his body started to feel hot. At such an important juncture, Zhonwan could not afford to fall ill. If he did, then those children would truly have no one to support them and manage things for them. He did not dare to risk it. After hearing the servant's words, he called for a palanquin to send him back to where they were staying. Zhonwan did not have any of the servants accompany him. He boarded the small palanquin. Once he sat down, a light sigh escaped his lips. 7 years. Back then, the passionate young man with such literary talent had already become a cut-sleeve in spring books. There was no reason for them to meet. Zhonwan felt hot and cold. As though he had fallen asleep yet also conscious, feeling dazed as if he was entering a dream. In his dream, that person was still in his teenage years. A person of few words, sitting by the window, quietly writing. Many peach trees stood outside, their pink blossoms landing on his shoulders. The palanquin shook for who knew how long. Finally, it landed on the ground. The sudden movement roused Zhonwan. He rubbed his eyes and stared blankly. Why would this taciturn and rule-abiding person do the things Lin Si had mentioned? Zhonwan was so cold, his body felt frozen and numb. Just as he was about to use all his strength to stand, someone lifted the door curtain of the palanquin. Tall, with a black fox pelt cloak draped over his body. Standing outside was Yushi, his face an expressionless mask. Zhong. Gui. UN. End chapter. Those years in quest of honor mine. Chapter 4. For a moment, Zhonwan thought that he hadn't woken from his dream yet. Yusuiyu had gotten a lot taller. The angle of his eyebrows and the look in his eyes had gotten harsher, too. The worry that had plagued his expression in his youth now transformed into anger, adding a gloomy aura to this handsome face. Zhonwan thought to himself, am I awake or not? If I'm awake, why would I see Yusuiyu? If I'm dreaming, how am I able to see him so clearly? Zhonwan's fever made his ears ring. His brain felt like a pile of mush. He struggled to get up, but his frozen hands and feet felt like they were filled with lead. He took a slight breather, then rested his weight against the palanquin to stand. Still, he lost his balance because he couldn't use his legs. They gave out under him and he fell straight forward. Zhonwan kneeled in the snow, staring at Yusuiyu's dark boots. He thought he was dreaming again. The dream was set 10 years in the past, right after Zhonwan had entered the palace to be a reading partner. At the time, there were only 4 people under the imperial preceptor's instruction that was of around the same age: Zhonwan, Yushi, the 4th prince and the 5th prince. Among the 4 of them, although Zhonwan was only a reading partner, he always had the best essays and literary talents, outperforming all the royal children by a great margin. Not only did the imperial preceptor adore his essays, but even Emperor Chang'an would lavish praise upon him when he occasionally tested them. Back then, Emperor Chang'an had even asked Zhonwan in jest if he was interested in entering the secretariat. Entering the secretariat to be the emperor's secretary would mean that he would take on the role of drafting the official royal edicts. Zhonwan had been young and reckless then, not yet understanding the benefits of hiding his talents. He said that he didn't dare to receive special treatment from the emperor because it would cause others to look down on Prince Ning's estate. But he also asked the emperor to keep a seat for him in the secretariat. As soon as they reached the year of the exams, he would naturally be able to enter Zikan Hall officially through his own abilities. Though Emperor Chang'an wasn't sure if Zhonwan could really pass the exams at such a young age, he liked how vibrant this spirited youth was, so he laughed and agreed to his request. He said he would tell Prince Ning to make a chair and send it to the secretariat in wait for Zhonwan tomorrow. This angered the 4th and 5th prince so much that their teeth itched. 5th Prince Qianqian was jealous of Zhonwan but only made things difficult for him in secret. In person, he still maintained a polite countenance with Zhonwan. 4th Prince Qianjing had a terrible temper and was quite straightforward. He made it very obvious when he was displeased. At their banquet later that day, he kept goading Zhonwan, eventually getting the other drunk because he knew he could hold his alcohol better. Zhonwan didn't lose his manners because he was drunk. He only became a bit confused. On the way out of the palace, he got lost. His head was dizzy, so he took a break and sat down in a gazebo. That day, Zhonwan ran into Yushi. Perhaps because nephews resembled their uncles, Yushi bore a slight likeness to Prince Ning. Zhonwan was drunk out of his mind, so he thought that Prince Ning had come looking for him. Zhonwan felt that he was being unmannerly. With a smile, he knelt properly to greet Prince Ning. Young Yushi couldn't understand what Zhonwan was muttering, so he softly asked him what was wrong. Zhonwan thought that Prince Ning was scolding him. Because he knew Prince Ning spoiled him, he gently latched onto the corner of Prince Ning's robes from where he was kneeling on the ground and shamelessly acknowledged, "I'll never drink again. Father, forgive me, just this once." Yushi. On that day, he had mistaken Yushi as his adopted father in the royal garden. After Zhonwan said those words, he pulled on young Yushi's clothes, dropped on his legs and fell asleep. Yushi couldn't move and hesitatingly helped him up. Zhonwan was so drunk that he couldn't get up with his own legs at all. Having no choice, the other boy supported him and Zhonwan shivered from where he knelt in the snow. He thought wildly in his head, back then, what had happened in the end? Could it be that Yusuiyu had picked him up and carried him home? Then what was the situation now? Was this a dream or not? Zhonwan. Yushi stared motionlessly at Zhonwan. He lightly asked, "Where's my Osman thus cake?" Zhonwan felt like someone had suddenly stabbed a knife into his chest, cutting into his heart and inner organs, causing immense pain. He instantly regained his wits. This wasn't a dream. Zhonwan understood now that he had walked right into a trap. This palanquin and its bearer both belonged to Yushi. Yushi waited a while. Upon seeing that Zhonwan wasn't going to respond, he asked, "Can you get up?" This wasn't 10 years ago anymore. Prince Ning wouldn't come looking for him again. Today, it didn't seem like Yushi planned on helping him up. Zhonwan ground his teeth together and slowly stood. The fever made his entire body hurt. He barely managed to get out, "Greetings to young Prince Yu." Yushi's expression alternated between being stormy and clear. A moment later, he said, "Come in." Zhonwan hadn't brought anyone with him. Even if he had, he wouldn't have been able to escape from Yushi's grasp anyways, so he could only follow him inside. Zhonwan walked behind Yushi, scanning their surroundings with his peripheral vision. He could tell that this was the side courtyard of Prince Yu's estate. Back then, he had fallen into slavery and was bought by Yushi. The other brought him back and kept him in here. Yushi led him into a warm room. Zhonwan was already frozen from head to toe. Suddenly entering such a warm area caused his entire body to tremble slightly. Yushi sat down. A servant brought him a hot cup of tea. He picked it up and slowly tasted it. Zhonwan stood there, silently staring at Yushi. Yushi's appearance hadn't changed that much, but the air around him had changed drastically, almost as if he had become a different person altogether. Yushi ignored Zhonwan for around 5 minutes, then said, "You're wearing quite a lot. You even have a fur coat on. How come you're so cold after only being in the winter wind for such a short time?" Yushi slightly narrowed his eyes. "I remember that you used to have great health." Zhonwan thought for a moment, then carefully picked a tone of voice. "After going to Jianan, I wasn't able to immediately acclimate to the new environment and fell ill. Since then, I've become somewhat frail. Apologies for causing a spectacle before you, Your Highness." Yushi put his teacup on the table and lightly said, "That's not the truth." Zhonwan tried to ignore the immense pain from his headache and struggled to say, "This one's constitution is not worthy of His Highness' concern." Yushi became silent for a moment more, then asked, "Is it related to me?" Zhonwan's head hurt and his vision was blurry. He shook his head. "No." Yushi scoffed, as if he knew Zhonwan was lying. But ultimately, he didn't say anything else and sipped his tea again instead. Zhonwan thought to himself, "If you want to ask something, then hurry and ask. Otherwise, I'm going to pass out in a bit and you won't even be able to get a lie out of me." Yushi enjoyed his tea by himself, as if he had forgotten Zhonwan was present. Zhonwan slowly moved his fingers. He knew that he should focus all his energy on Yushi at this time, but he couldn't help but let his mind wander. As expected, Yushi had really changed a lot. In all these years, what had happened to him? In his youth, Zhonwan had spent time both inside and outside the palace. He had once heard a secret. According to rumors, Yushi wasn't Prince Yu's biological son at all but was actually Emperor Chang'an's bastard child. Of course, to start a rumor like this, there had to be some basis. For example, the extraordinary regards that Emperor Chang'an had for Yushi. In comparison to the fourth and fifth prince, who were around the same age, had to get in the back of the line. Another example was that Emperor Chang'an couldn't keep his sons alive previously. His first and second sons had both died young and his third son was sickly. If Yushi really was Emperor Chang'an's biological son, in order of age, he would be the fourth. Perhaps the emperor had also believed the prophet's words, acknowledging that his throne had come from suspicious origins and that this would hurt his luck with descendants. After witnessing his first 3 sons either dying or becoming ill, he was scared that his fourth son wouldn't survive either, so he probably sent him to his biological younger sister, Royal Princess Angguo, to raise. Similar proof was plentiful, but Zhongyuan hadn't believed these rumors when he had first heard them many years ago. First off, Zhongyuan had once worked through the timeline backwards from Yushi's day and time of birth. He had discovered that none of Emperor Chang'an's concubines could have possibly given birth to Yushi that year. Of course, it was possible that Yushi could have been born secretly by someone with no name or surname in the palace. However, he had been given the title of heir at the age of 1. If he really was Emperor Chang'an's biological son and the emperor had sent his own son to Prince Yu's estate to be the heir, that was the equivalent of the emperor forcing Prince Yu to revolt. It wasn't like Prince Yu was incapable of having children. He had several illegitimate sons already. Why would he allow himself to be forced to give someone else's son the title of heir, to blindly give away the rank and power that his father and grandfather had worked so hard to attain? Zhongyuan didn't believe that Prince Yu could be that loyal to the degree of raising someone else's son for them and also gifting them his own ancestral legacy. But Zhongyuan gently furrowed his brows. Emperor Chang'an doted on Yushi so much, so why wasn't he willing to give him a princess? Getting married to a relative would ensure the security of kinship and would also strengthen the relationship between the royal family and the prince of the first rank with a different surname. Where was the downside in it? Fourth princess was honestly too young, but third princess was the right age for Yushi. Yet, Emperor Chang'an hadn't ordered a marriage between them. And when Yushi had asked to marry the fourth princess, he had become truly angry, which was rare. Zhongyuan's head felt like it was splitting open. He didn't have the energy to worry about the situation he was in right now, entirely occupied with concern over Yushi. The emperor's sons and grandsons kept dying young, which was why he had started becoming suspicious of Xian Rui and Xian Yu and felt the need to personally see them. Wouldn't others be able to notice his distrust? Wouldn't fourth Prince Xianjing and fifth Prince Xian Qiang be able to tell? They were even wary of Prince Ning's two sons. How would they view Yushi? Emperor Chang'an knew very clearly what Yushi's true background was, but Xianjing and Xian Qiang didn't. Zhongyuan suddenly felt like he couldn't breathe. Did these two princes already view and act against Yushi like he was the emperor's son, too? Was Emperor Chang'an actually spoiling Yushi or using him as a target? Zhongyuan's ears rang. He almost couldn't keep standing. He was really in too much pain, which caused him to lose his self-control. He let it slip, "You've done so much these past few years. Is it because you want to avoid the fight for the throne?" Yushi was stunned for a moment, then suddenly laughed. Yushi set his teacup on the table. As if he had heard an amazing joke, he started guffawing to himself. He laughed for a long time. Zhongyuan was shocked. The Yushi of before would never have acted in this way. Yushi finally laughed enough. He softly coughed and fixed his messy robes, then shook his head. "No, I'm terrified that I won't be dragged into it." At this time, Zhongyuan's ears were still ringing and his head hurt. If not for the fact that he was familiar with Yushi's voice, he probably wouldn't even be able to understand what the other was saying. Anger bubbled in his heart. "You don't even have a chance. Why bother?" Yushi paused as he realized what was running through Zhongyuan's mind. He started chuckling again. A moment later, he asked, "What are you thinking?" Yushi erased the smile off his face. He calmly stated, "I just don't want everyone to live so smoothly is all." Zhongyuan, who had spent several years doing his absolute best and more just to survive, became furious to the point that he almost fell over after hearing this. He burst into laughter and reflected upon himself. Perhaps these years of struggling to survive had worn down his ambitions. Otherwise, why would he want to scold Yushi in his father's place after hearing his words? Wasn't it nice to be alive? Zhongyuan became extremely angry, so angry that the rims of his eyes turned red. Yushi observed him, fascinated. He asked, "Zhongyuan, Are you worrying about me? Zhongyuan couldn't decipher what Yushi was saying. He lifted his gaze, visibly bewildered. Yushi scoffed. I understand. You only want to get out of here. You think by faking concern in a few phrases, I'll remember our old friendship and let you go, right? It was even hard for Zhongyuan to keep his eyes open. Right now, he was using his last breath to stay standing. If not for the fact that he didn't want to make a fool of himself in front of Yushi, he would have found a chair to sit in long ago. He could barely tell that Yushi was saying something, but as for what he was saying specifically, Zhongyuan had no idea. Zhongyuan's forehead was wet with cold sweat. He lifted a hand to squeeze in between his eyebrows, subconsciously saying, Suiyu, I don't feel good. Yushi froze. A moment later, he said, boil a bowl of ginger soup and bring it over. The servant lifted his head, then hurriedly made a noise acknowledging the order and headed out. Zhongyuan's reasoning had completely left him because of his fever. He forgot his identity as a guest and ordered in a hoarse voice. Add extra sugar. Yushi. The servant was quite surprised, too. He looked at Yushi, Yushi nodded. Zhongyuan had become dazed. When he came back to his senses, he was already leaning on the couch where Yushi was sitting. Ginger soup with added sugar was sent in. Zhongyuan couldn't bring himself to care about anything else as he slowly sipped it. With bowl of ginger soup later, Zhongyuan finally regained some color in his face. Yushi remained silent, simply watching Zhongyuan. The servant brought another bowl over for Zhongyuan. Zhongyuan sipped at it, little by little. The servants at Prince Yu's estate knew what to do. They had added some medicines used for expelling cold to the ginger soup, all of them were of high quality. 30 minutes later, he instantly felt better. Now that his body was no longer in pain, his foggy mind managed to clear up, too. Thus, he started becoming even more anxious. Yushi had gone through the trouble of getting him here, for what reason? Yushi didn't say anything, so naturally Zhongyuan didn't dare to speak either. The two of them sat across from each other, quietly. One sipped at his tea while the other took his medicine. A long pause later, Yushi suddenly spoke. Zhongyuan. Zhongyuan swallowed the last of his ginger soup and placed the small bowl on the table. He could tell that Yushi was finally about to get to the point. There was another bout of insufferable silence. Yushi gently knocked against the surface of the table. He slowly started, these past years, I have asked myself many times. Zhongyuan lifted his gaze. What did he mean? Was he about to start going through all their past experiences one by one? Yushi seemed to be lost in his memories. He drawled out, always perplexed, always puzzled. Did I perhaps suffer a serious illness and damage my brain with fever? Zhongyuan was bewildered. Huh. Or maybe I unfortunately fell off a horse and hurt my head in the process. Zhongyuan had no idea what was going on. What did this have to do with anything? Yushi lightly said, every time I was about to believe all those stories you made up. Zhongyuan suddenly choked. Yushi glanced at Zhongyuan and continued, every time I was unable to trust myself. When I started wavering, I would ask those servants who had been with me since young, did I lose part of my memory? Otherwise, how would I not be able to remember even one instance of our love affair? Zhongyuan started coughing his lungs out. He kept a firm grasp over his mouth. At a time like this, he absolutely could not start laughing. If Yushi could eliminate Lindsay, he could definitely kill him, too. But as soon as he thought of a young Yushi suffering from self-doubt and a mental breakdown, clinging onto an old servant to ask if he had lost his memories, Zhongyuan really couldn't help himself. Zhongyuan borrowed the cover of coughing to bury his head low into his own chest. Yusuiyu watched him calmly. Laugh all you want, no need to hold it in. Zhongyuan furiously shook his head. Yusuiyu raised the corner of his lips in a leer. Be good, Laugh out loud, for every time you laugh, I'll make you cry the same number of times. Zhongwan lost the strength in his legs for some reason. He originally could have kept it in, but after hearing this, he couldn't control himself anymore. A single laugh escaped him. Yushi smiled. Very good, once. Zhongwan pinched himself, hard. He felt much better now, so he didn't dare to keep sitting. He stood up. Yushi's expression was conflicted as he stared at Zhongwan for a while. Suddenly, he said, "You can leave." Zhongwan was speechless. He was letting him go just like that. Yushi stood up. "I'm tired." "You can leave." Zhongwan heaved a huge sigh of relief. As soon as he turned to leave, he heard Yushi coldly add, "Keep a tight leash on that mute dog of yours. Don't let him come bother me again." Zhongwan paused. He knew he was speaking of Lindsay, so made a noise of acknowledgement and left. His original plan involved bringing Lindsay back to Jianan after His Majesty's birthday. Thus, he naturally wouldn't bother Yushi again. On the way back to Prince Jianan's estate, Zhongwan had a debate with himself. Zhongwan's initial plan had already been made. After ensuring that Emperor Chang'an had completely dispelled his doubts, he would bring everyone back to Jianan, never to return to the capital again. But now, he was suddenly hesitant. Zhongwan thought about the circumstances Yushi was currently in. He couldn't stop worrying. Either way, Xian Rui would have no use for him soon. Perhaps he could help plot for Yushi and convince him to remove himself from this mess sooner. Zhongwan suddenly got rid of this idea. Disregarding the question of whether or not he would be able to safely get out of the upcoming situation, he had already tricked Yushi so many times before. How could the other trust him to be of help again? Zhongwan pulled the fox fur coat closer and scoffed, mocking himself. Besides, he had already fallen so far from grace. He didn't have any face left to go find Yushi. Yushi probably had only arranged today's events as a warning for Lindsay. From now on, Zhongwan didn't think that Yushi would be willing to see him again. He was most likely more than disgusted. 3 months later, bridges would be bridges and roads would be roads. They would probably never meet again in their entire lifetimes. At the same time, in Prince Yu's estate, the old steward of the side courtyard was helping Yushi prepare for bed. He gently asked, "Did Yushi saw young Master Zhong today?" Yushi nodded. This old slave took a few glances through the door curtain, too. Young Master Zhong has gotten much taller and more handsome. Yushi didn't speak. Rumors about Yushi and young Master Zhong are quite well known. Though the aristocrats and nobles only think of it as a joke and don't actually believe it, it doesn't stop them from asking for matrimony with our estate. It still wouldn't be quite right. Today you met in the middle of the night, away from everyone else's eyes, which was fine. But if your highness continuously meet... The old steward looked like he had something to say. Yushi smiled faintly. He knew what the old steward wanted to tell him. "You don't want me to see him again." The old steward didn't dare to try and tell Yushi what to do. He said in a humble tone, "This old slave just don't think it's necessary." "No, it's necessary." Yushi grinned sadistically. "Today I said, if he dared to laugh once, I would make him cry once." A few days later. "I'm going to make him pay." End chapter.